What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review SmackDown from July 23rd, 2021, emanating from Cleveland, Ohio. Not only that, it's also simulcasting from Miami, Florida at the Rolling Loud Festival. I'll talk about that later on. Real quick overall thoughts on the show. I thought it was not a bad show. Definitely better than what we saw this past Monday. Yes, I know I didn't post my Raw review, and I missed a couple shows because I was on vacation, but I did catch up on the shows. One of my quick thoughts on Monday Night Raw from this past week, I loved the fact that it was in front of a crowd, and it had more of an important feel to it, considering the fact that you had John Cena open the show. But really, throughout the entire show, like the beginning of the show, like you had that 6-man tag, and then after that, you had Elias versus Jackson Ryker in that rematch. We saw that match like 5 times, but I will say Jackson Ryker and Elias absolutely killed it. I thought it was a pretty good match. I just hated the fact that it was another rematch, and we've seen that match like 5 times. But the rest of the show of Raw was pure garbage. Of course, you had the NXT champion debut, of course, Karrion Kross. As someone that doesn't watch NXT, watching Raw and watching Karrion Kross lose in 2 minutes is a pure reason as to why I don't watch NXT. WWE basically told everybody, hey, we don't care about NXT, considering the fact that they buried their NXT champion because Jeff Hardy beat him in 2 minutes. Those are my quick thoughts on Raw, but let's go to SmackDown. Overall thoughts on SmackDown. I forgot to tell you that I forgot to tell you about Nikki Ash winning the belt. My quick thoughts. I'm not a big fan of that. I'll explain more in my Raw review, but here we're going to be talking about SmackDown. So, SmackDown. Again, I stated earlier that this is actually not a bad show. I actually pretty much enjoyed the show. The majority of the show. There was a couple of nitpicks there and there, but of course we all know SmackDown is the A show, and there was a lot of stuff that happened. Of course, John Cena, of all people, kicked off the show, and my quick thoughts on John Cena returning. I'm extremely happy. I'm so happy that John Cena is finally back where he belongs, in my opinion. We're 100% going to be getting that match with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, but that ending on SmackDown says otherwise, but we all know the match is going to be Cena versus Reigns. But I'll talk about that later on. But John Cena kicked off the show, of course. He returned after the match he had with Edge at Money in the Bank. What are my quick thoughts? Of course, he had that face-off with Roman Reigns. Awesome. And then he showed up on Raw talking about, why did he come back? Of course, he talked about challenging Roman Reigns. And yeah, and he said, I'm going to be at SmackDown, and here he is. So he's basically considered a quote-unquote free agent, if that really makes any sense. In kayfabe, he's considered a free agent. That means he's going to show up on both Raw and SmackDown. But what are my thoughts on John Cena? So first off, let me explain what John Cena basically said on the microphone. So he basically hypes up the crowd in Cleveland and talks about the surprise at Money in the Bank and talks about the alternate universe at the Firefly Funhouse and all that stuff. And says that he came back to WWE to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Of course, everybody expected that. Says he is so happy that they get to have a face-off here in Cleveland. So he went to the government officials and changed his name to Guardians. That was pretty funny. It says SmackDown with Roman as its champion absolutely sucks. Well, to you it probably does, but to me it's absolutely gold, in my opinion. Says he knows that there are hundreds of Roman Reigns fans out there. Says that they deserve to stand up and be heard. And says there's no more Thunderdome and we are live. He says SummerSlam is not just a match for the Universal Championship. It is a chance for us to stand up for what we believe in. And it basically tells the crowd, what team are you on? So they're trying to play it. He's basically trying to play it out as basically Rock and Cena in 2012. Of course, you had Team Bring It and Team Z Nation. So he hypes up the crowd and says, are they team shorts or team cargo pants? And then he asks, are they team hustle, loyalty, respect, or are they team are they on the team that the fans always reject? Damn. And says, are they team Cena or are they team Roman Reigns? And then after that, he asks, where the hell is Roman Reigns? So then after that, what happens is that he says that he can't see me. He can't see him, of course. We all can't see John Cena, of course. I don't even see him now reading this. Says that he knows that after SummerSlam, the champ is here. And after that, proceeds to wait for Roman Reigns. And what happens? Paul Heyman comes out, of course, in typical Paul Heyman fashion. I saw this tweet on Twitter basically talking about how awesome it was every time John Cena and Paul Heyman were on the microphone, because they had a lot of great moments. Even like years ago when he was just a mid-carder down at the SmackDown brand back in 2004. I mean, he had really funny segments with Paul Heyman, because in kayfabe, he was, back in the day, he was the GM of SmackDown, and he had some really hilarious segments. But enough about me talking about that. Let's talk about the segment itself. It says that, basically says John Cena has it all wrong, and says Roman can't hear him because he's simply not worth listening to. So after that, he gives him his word and says that he will get an answer to his challenge when Roman decides to come out and show him and everyone live tonight that the tribal chief is here. Paul Heyman, amazing on the microphone. I really loved that line from Paul Heyman saying that the tribal chief is here. Goes to show you that, hey, Roman Reigns is the new kid in town, is a new guy on the block, and John Cena is past his prime. I love that line. I love that whole tribal chief is here line by Paul Heyman. And then after that, the best part of this whole segment was Paul Heyman. See, you guys thought Paul Heyman doing the 10 bell salute by himself was hilarious. This was times 1,000. He began to sing John Cena's theme to boop boop boop. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was dying when I saw Paul Heyman just hum John Cena's theme. That was the funniest thing ever. And after that, Paul Heyman walks away. What are my thoughts on this segment? This was a really good segment to open up the show. Really got the crowd fired up in Cleveland. I'm really happy to see John Cena back. From now on, you're going to see John Cena on SmackDown. But I do believe he's going to be showing up on Raw. Correct me, I don't even know. But you're going to be seeing the majority of this whole storyline is going to happen on SmackDown, because this is a SmackDown match. I don't care what anybody says, this is a SmackDown match, but it's the main event of SummerSlam. But I don't know if John Cena is going to be showing up on Raw in the future. I think he is, because they do have that. I believe they had that 25. They had that tour of John Cena that they're going to be doing. I think it's a 25-week tour. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they're doing a tour. They're doing a tour of John Cena. So John Cena. Don't expect John Cena to have a one-off, because John Cena is going to be here for the foreseeable future. As we are on the road to SummerSlam. My apologies. I'm just excited, man. That segment right there, especially with Paul Heyman, man, that was like the funniest thing ever. All right. Our first matchup of the evening, we got a returning Finn Balor. Of course, he returned last week in the first SmackDown with a live audience, interrupting Sami Zayn. So we got a match with Finn Balor and Sami Zayn. What are my thoughts on this match? Of course, you would assume that they would book a match like this. It's typical WWE booking. But after watching this match, look, this match was okay. It was not the best match in the world. But what I don't want is for WWE to just milk this match for the next 5 weeks on SmackDown. I guarantee you next week we're going to get a rematch with Balor and Sami Zayn. So the match starts. Actually, no, I take that back, considering the fact that I just realized that Sami Zayn just challenged Roman Reigns later on. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, they eventually booked a rematch, because it's typical WWE booking. But the match starts. Both lock up. We get a waist lock by Balor. We get an elbow by Zayn. A wrist lock by Zayn on Balor. We get a right hand. Zayn begins to gain control on Balor. We get repeated right hands. Zayn sends Balor to the outside. We get repeated rights by Zayn on Balor on the outside. Double leg takedown by Balor. We got a couple stomps. Zayn gets sent to the outside. We got a somersault by Finn Balor on the outside on Sami Zayn. We got a clothesline by Zayn back from commercial break, because after that somersault by Balor, Zayn began to take control during the commercial break. After that, Zayn is in control. He gets sent to the corner. Balor proceeds to hit a DDT. Zayn misses the haluva kick. Balor then hits a sling blade. Balor then takes down Sami Zayn. Then Zayn proceeds to hit the blue thunder bomb. After that, Zayn tries to hit an exploder, but Balor fights back. Balor with repeated elbows. Balor begins to gain control. Zayn catches Balor and tries to hit an exploder again, but Balor counters into a double stomp on Zayn. Then he hits a missile drop kick on Zayn. Then after that, he proceeds to hit a second missile dropkick on Zayn. After that, Balor goes to the top, then hits the coup de grace, and then what happens? Finn Balor wins the match. What are my thoughts on this match? This was a pretty good match. Not the best match, of course. It was the first match of the evening, but of course, what they're doing with Finn Balor, they at the end of the show, I'll talk about Finn Balor later, but I will say this was not a bad match, but I wouldn't be surprised if they booked a rematch and continue on this whole little mini feud that Sami Zayn is having with Finn Balor, considering the fact that Finn Balor is doing better things right now, considering the fact that he's going to be feuding with Roman Reigns. I said considering the fact multiple times, did I? Yeah, my apologies. But yeah, we get a backstage interview with Baron Corbin after the match. He's asked about the website that he made called Crowdfunds, and says that someone stole his identity and all of his credit is lost. And what happens is basically he had to ride on a bus, and Corbin is then wondering what happened to him after I lost that crown. What are my thoughts on this segment? First off, I don't know what they're doing with Baron Corbin. Most likely, I have that belief that they're going to be turning Baron Corbin babyface. Again, I stated earlier throughout my SmackDown reviews, I have stated that I am not the biggest fan of Baron Corbin, King Corbin, whatever the hell you want to call him, because of the fact that he's just not believable as a heel. And I think he's going to be a little more believable as a babyface, but he has the opportunity to be a heel. And actually, he has the opportunity to be a legitimate heel. We've seen that in 2016 and 2017, and he did have potential. Fans were literally saying, dude, Baron Corbin is the main eventer, and you can literally push him to the moon. And we thought we were going to get that in 2017 when he won Money in the Bank, but we all know what happened. He lost the Money in the Bank. Jinder Mahal pinned him with the help of John Cena, of all people, and there goes his main event career. That's just my opinion. No, it's not even that was facts. But Baron Corbin, what they're doing with Baron Corbin now, what are they doing with Baron Corbin? They're definitely going to be turning him babyface. Not only that, I believe they either trademarked or there was a leak that happened that said that they were going to rename Baron Corbin Happy Corbin. And I'm like, what? Happy Corbin? That makes absolutely no sense. But what are my thoughts? I don't know where this story of Baron Corbin is going to be going. Most likely this is going to be a babyface turn, but we'll see. All right, now we got the second portion of the show, or the second location of the show, because this is a quote-unquote simulcast. SmackDown is at the Rolling Loud Festival in Miami, Florida. So what are my thoughts on the setting? I love the fact that Fox wanted WWE to host a couple matches at the festival. I think it's a pretty neat idea. The only problem with it is that throughout the match of Angelo Dawkins and Chad Gable and the rematch between Bianca Belair and Carmella, the problem was that the crowd was completely dead. The reason why is because none of the people that attended that festival, maybe rarely few people, even watched the frickin' product. That's the only problem. Not only that, they pitched in Thunderdome sounds. You could definitely tell you can definitely hear the noises of the Thunderdome sound of the Thunderdome crowd. My bad. My words are out of context. Not only that, while you hear the Thunderdome sound, you see the crowd and they're completely dead. Yeah, that's just my thing. And not only that, it makes absolutely no sense. But I will say I do love this setting, and I wish that WWE, I know this is a Fox thing, but I wish WWE did more of this and actually hosted their own events at festivals or even a clubs. WCW back in the late 90s during the Nitro days always did spring breakout during the spring in March of 97, 98, 99, 2000, and 2001. Those first few spring breakouts were in Panama City Beach at Club La Vila. they were having fun with the setting. Of course, also WCW did the Road Wild pay-per-view. Granted, none of the people that attended that show paid, but like you could still have fun with a unique setting. I mean, AEW did the Jericho Cruise, and that was basically their version of Spring Break. WWE needs to do more of this, but not only that, the crowd was dead here mainly because of the fact that this was strictly a Fox thing, and this whole festival, they were not there to see wrestling. They were there to see hip hop. But I mean, WWE needs to host more of this. They need to start hosting special events, kind of like what AEW does with the Jericho Cruise, because they need to have fun with the product. The reason why I liked AEW so much when it came to the Jericho Cruise was because of the fact that they were having fun with the setting. Not only that, it basically made AEW look a little more cooler because of the fact that they were having fun with what they were doing. WWE needs to do more of this. But the only problem with this was the fact that, Miami, the whole festival, I mean, the crowd was absolutely dead. Nobody cared about what was going on. I guarantee you nobody even knew who the wrestlers were. I will tell you that. My apologies if my words are kind of out of context or kind of just being weird. I'm just excited because after this, I'm filming another video talking about those CM Punk rumors. So yeah. So Whale introduces the Street Profits, and then we get our first match at the festival. Angelo Dawkins versus Chad Gable. This was not a bad match. The match starts. We get a takedown and a drop kick by Dawkins. Dawkins plants Gable to the mat. We get a couple chops by Gable. Gable's on the top. He targets the shoulder of Dawkins. Gable with a clothesline from the top. We get a cover and a near fall. Gable works on Dawkins. We get a Northern-like suplex by Gable. We get a near fall. German suplex by Gable. We get a cover and a near fall. Gable goes to the top. Misses a moonsault. Gable gets sent to the outside. He goes back in. We get a clothesline by Dawkins. We get a Pele kick by Dawkins after that. We got a right hand by Dawkins. We got a cover and a near fall. Takes Gable to the top. We got a backslide by Gable and a near fall. Then a spine buster by Dawkins. Angelo Dawkins wins the match. Overall thoughts on this match. This is not a bad match. The only problem is that we've seen this feud happen for the last, how many weeks? Like the last 5 weeks. The Street Profits and Otis and Chad Gable were feuding for how long now? It's time to move on. We don't have to see this over and over again. I mean, like, there's a lot of 50-50 booking going on. I don't even know what happened the previous weeks. I guarantee you, I do believe they wrestled before. But, like, I mean, come on now. Like, stop with these damn rematches. It makes absolutely no sense. Our next matchup at the festival is Bianca Belair versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Of course, they had their match last week on SmackDown. It was a pretty good match. I just do not know why they had to have a rematch. First off, I thought they stopped with rematch clauses. Not only that, I mean, like, what caused WWE to make the decision to book a match with Carmella against Bianca Belair again? Like, what was the point of the rematch? There's no reason behind it. That's the problem I have. And this match was not the best match either. It was a pretty short match. Bianca with the moonsault and then hits a drop kick. Carmella then takes control over Bianca Belair. We got a Hurricane Rana, and then a shoulder tackle by Bianca. Bianca picks up Carmella. Carmella's on the apron. We get a forearm by Belair. Later on, Carmella works on Bianca. Belair breaks up the hold on Carmella. Hits a backbreaker, then a forearm by Carmella. Carmella goes to the top. We get a crossbody by Carmella, but Bianca catches her and hits the fall-away slam. After that, we get a cartwheel and then a standing moonsault on Carmella by Belair. We get a cover and a near fall. Carmella then proceeds to hit the jawbreaker. Belair blocks Carmella. After that, tries to hit the suplex, but Carmella counters by planting Belair to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. Belair kicks out, and then Belair proceeds to hit the KOD, the Kiss of Death, on Carmella, and then wins the match. Bianca Belair retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. Overall thoughts on this match? I mean, of course Belair was going to win. We all know Bianca Belair is going to have that match with Sasha Banks. First off, I expected Sasha Banks to literally not even interfere, just attack Bianca Belair last week in the match that she had with Carmella. But that didn't happen. And then once they announced the rematch, a lot of people were making the assumption of, hey, you never know, Sasha Banks could probably attack Bianca Belair after her match. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I don't know. SummerSlam is in 5 weeks. I mean, they have to start booking Sasha Banks. If they want to make SummerSlam one of the best shows of 2021, one of the matches, of course, you got Cena and Reigns. you got to have Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair again. I mean, that match is going to be awesome. We've seen that match before. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. All right. We got Kevin Owens with Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox backstage. Owens then proceeds to meet with Baron Corbin, of course, who looks depressed. Corbin wants to apologize to Kevin Owens. He asks for forgiveness. And Owen asks, is that the same shirt from last week? And then Owens gives him $40 and tells him not to be a jerk to people. So what happens after that is basically Shotzi and Nox hit their cannonball on Corbin in the nuts. I'm not going to lie, I kind of got a good laugh out of that. I started dying when that happened. Literally, out of nowhere. Look, Kevin Owens just leaves, and all of a sudden, Shotzi Blackheart just shoots the cannonball right in between the nuts of Baron Corbin. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But like literally, I started dying. And then after that, Ziggler and Rude come out of nowhere and just take away his money. Like Ziggler and Rude are pretty much still relevant. Like I don't think they're still relevant. I mean, like, where have they been on television these past few weeks? I honestly do not remember the last time they were on television. They were probably on television like a couple weeks ago, but like these past few weeks, I don't think they were on SmackDown. That's just my opinion. The Dirty Dogs. First off, I've stated earlier, the Dirty Dogs is a crappy name for a tag team. The Dirty Dogs. So Rude and Ziggler take away their money, and then Kevin Owens tries to make the save, but then, Ziggler and Rude escape. All right, we got the segment with Edge, of course, coming off the heels of the match he had with Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. Of course, what happened in the match, Seth Rollins cost Edge the match. So basically, when he comes out, he puts over the crowd and says that he knows how hard he fought to get back and says that he should be standing as the Universal Champion, but he is not. There's one reason why. Seth Rollins says that he has learned from the evil minds of the industry. He was in the Brood, and hell, he was in the Ministry of Darkness. I like that little nod right there. Says Rollins had no idea of the depth that he will sink. Rollins has no idea of the depth that he will sink to get the job done. Then Seth Rollins comes out and then asks if somebody said his name. Says it's Grandpa Edge talking about the man he used to be. Edge tells Rollins to shut up after that repeatedly, and then asks Rollins to come to the ring and talk about this man to man, and promises that he will not attack Seth Rollins. So what happens after that? Rollins basically comes to the ring, and he says that he came here to talk about how he despises the city and says that he hates people like him. He talks about Cena taking away opportunities from people like him and says that he was going to talk about those things. He says that as much as he wants to talk about that, he is thrilled that Grandpa Edge is in the ring. Rollins states that he has been such a scumbag to him and nothing will make him happy to put an end to his comeback story. He talks about bringing the authority back and not curve stomping Edge. And then after that, after that line, talking about bringing the authority back, that was a nod to what happened in 2014. This was during the time where Edge was still retired, and what happened was that the authority were out of power after losing Survivor Series, and basically what happened was that Seth Rollins basically was, I believe it was in the cutting edge. It was in the cutting edge, and what happened was that Rollins was about to curve stomp Edge, but what happened was John Cena came back and Rollins was stating, hey, I will curve stomp Edge I will not curve stomp Edge unless you bring back the authority, and then John Cena brought back the authority. So I like that little nod from 2014 right there. So then after that, he says that he hesitated. He says that when he gets the opportunity again, he will not hesitate to pull the trigger. Then Edge states, remember when I said that he was not going to put his hands on him? Well, he's a liar. And then proceeds to attack Edge. Both proceed to brawl, and then after that, the Edge gives a right to Rollins. Both brawl. Edge later hits the execution on Seth Rollins. After that, Edge tries to go for the spear, but Rollins escapes. All right. Overall thoughts on this segment. I really enjoyed this segment. Edge always delivers in his promos. He's really interesting, and it really gets you invested in what you're watching, especially when you see people like Edge, Roman Reigns, John Cena talk on the microphone. That's what I really like about, wrestlers like Edge and John Cena. You really believe what they're saying. I feel like the problem with the current roster now, and it's not the wrestlers' fault, it's management, is that they're not giving them freedom to speak their mind out. I don't want to say speak their mind out, but like speak their mind out on the topic at hand. A script sucks. it's much better to just get bullet points and just go talk about the topic at hand. That's just my opinion, and that's what I really enjoyed about Seth Rollins and Edge. All right. We got the debut of the former NXT UK Women's Champion, Toni Storm versus Zelina Vega. This match was pretty short. Toni Storm, I've seen a little bit of her work. Again, I am not a pure watcher of NXT. I watched their takeovers there and there. I did watch Takeover in Your... I watched their takeovers, actually. I watched their takeovers, but I don't watch NXT weekly, considering the fact that I stated earlier in this review that there's no rhyme or reason for me to watch NXT, considering the fact that you love a wrestler in NXT, and then once you bring them up to the main roster, they're instantly buried. Now, granted, there are wrestlers that I really like in NXT right now, like Isaiah Swerve Scott, of course, Adam Cole. Karrion Kross I still enjoy, but he's still buried. But, like, I mean, Johnny Gargano, of course, as well. But, like, who else? I mean, like, everybody on that roster is absolutely talented. Like, those are the wrestlers that I just named out are, like, the ones that I really enjoy, like, from the heart. But, like, you know, I'm just not a big fan of... I don't want to say I'm not a big fan of NXT. I'm a fan of NXT. I just like don't watch the show as much as I say I don't, because I don't watch the show because of the fact that there's just no reason for me to watch the show. That's the harsh truth of NXT. NXT, look, they try to make NXT as a third brand, right? But instead they're pushing that back, and it's now basically becoming developmental. And you know, that's what NXT always was and always will be. You know, that's what it originally was when it was basically revamped back in 2012 after NXT used to be a typical reality show where they brought guys in from FCW to compete for a WWE contract. Basically the PG version of Tough Enough. But, like, I mean, you know, NXT right now, I mean, NXT was extremely hot in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018. But when it moved to USA Network, I mean, it really goes to show you WWE's true intentions on NXT. NXT, really, I don't want to say it's a failure as a developmental, but I have to say it is a failure as a developmental, considering the fact that, and it's not the management in NXT's fault. It's basically the fault of the main roster, mainly because of the fact that you bring up a guy that a lot of fans enjoy on NXT, and then once you bring him up to the main roster, he's instantly buried. For example, Karrion Kross. He is the NXT champion. He makes his Raw debut against Jeff Hardy, and what happens? He loses in 2 minutes. That makes absolutely no sense. It goes to show you what I think about NXT. NXT, look, it can be the best product in the world, and it is. It's a really good product. Hell, they have the best women's division they probably have. They have the best women's division, but I mean, NXT as a whole, I mean, as a developmental, I mean, it's not a success. And their whole run on USA, I mean, I don't want to say it's a failure, but I mean, I don't watch NXT because, like, I don't watch NXT not because it's a bad show. I don't watch NXT because I just don't care about what's going on. That's my thing. That's just my opinion. But we got Toni Storm versus Zelina Vega. The match starts, both lock up. We get a boot by Storm, then a baseball slide on Vega. Storm gets bounced to the table. Vega with the knee. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Then a headbutt by Storm on Vega. We get a hip attack into the corner. We get a German suplex by Storm. After that, we get a sunset flip by Vega on Storm. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Storm picks up Vega and then switches the waist locks by both wrestlers. After that, Storm plants Vega to the mat and wins the match. Overall thoughts. I think it was not a bad match. I just wasn't as invested as I was, but it is what it is. Next matchup, we got Dominic Mysterio versus Jimmy Uso. Of course, coming off the heels of the Money in the Bank kickoff, yes. This match happened at the kickoff. We had the Usos versus the Mysterios happening at Money in the Bank in the kickoff, which I thought was really dumb. If you wanted to book a match, a tag team title match, put it on the main card. A lot of people were actually kind of questioning the decision to put the belt on the Usos, considering the fact that Jimmy Uso got arrested for DUI last week. Actually, no, 2 weeks ago. But apparently WWE didn't care, so they just put the belt on the Usos. They put the belt on the Usos, but I will say that match was not bad. I really enjoyed the match on the kickoff. It was not a bad match at all. But, of course, we got a rematch with Dominic Mysterio and Jimmy Uso. I guarantee you next week we're going to get a match between Rey Mysterio and Jey Uso. So Mysterio goes after Jimmy, and then we get a headlock by Jimmy. We get a couple hip tosses by Dominic. We get a couple chops by Dominic. Jimmy takes out Dominic. After that, we get a super kick by Jimmy Uso. Sends Dominic into the corner. We got a cover and a near fall. Works on Dominic. Dominic proceeds to fight back. We get an enziguri by Jimmy. Cover and a near fall. Then a headlock by Jimmy Uso. We get a kick by Dominic. Sends Jimmy to the second rope. He's about to go for the 619, but Jay saves Jimmy. We get a senton by Ray on Jay, and then Dominic then takes out Jimmy on the outside. We get a neck breaker by Dominic. Dominic then takes out Jimmy. Dominic then goes for the Three Amigos. He tries to go for the Three Amigos, but then Jimmy hits an enziguri. Then after that, Dominic drops Jimmy on the second rope. After that, Dominic proceeds to hit the 619, goes to the top. Jay tries to interfere, but Ray makes the save. Dominic lands into a super kick by Jimmy. We get a cover into a near fall. Then a roll up by Dominic. We get a near fall from that roll up. We get a counter after counter by both Jimmy and Dominic. Both go back and forth. We get a roll up by Jimmy. Jay helps Jimmy successfully pin Dominic, and Jey Uso wins the match. I really enjoyed this match. This was a fun match to watch. I love the interactions with the Usos, with Jey Uso, and the interferences with Jey Uso and Rey Mysterio. Of course, the Usos should not get pinned clean. In my opinion, that'd be really terrible booking decisions. They're your tag team champions. Not only that, they're aligned with Roman Reigns, of course, the bloodline, which I really enjoy. They're the best thing right now on SmackDown. Second is Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is amazing. Shout out to Pat McAfee. He's one of the best things on WWE television right now. So yeah, after Jimmy Uso, I said Jey Uso won the match. My bad. My notes were kind of messed up. Jimmy Uso won the match. So after that, Roman Reigns comes out, and what happens is basically there's a lot of pyro going on, and then Roman comes out to address the challenge that John Cena laid out. And Roman tells Cleveland to acknowledge him and tells the viewer at home to acknowledge him. We acknowledge you, Roman. So he says John Cena acknowledged him at Money in the Bank. Then he acknowledged him at Raw, and he wanted to acknowledge John. But Hollywood came in and ruined everything. He says that he came out as a nostalgia act. Same clothes, same outfit, same promo, and same insults. And then he says all he had to do was search for 2005 John Cena. And then this was the line that really got the crowd rampant. Basically, he says it's the same thing, and it's like missionary position every single night. Holy shit. That was a crazy ass line that I heard from Roman Reigns. That we all heard from Roman Reigns. I mean, I didn't expect him to say that. And I will say, Roman Reigns has stepped up his game ever since he turned heel. He has stepped up his game when it comes to his promos. I will give him that. And says the tribal chief is not interested in that. And says Cena is right. He can't see him, but does not want, because he does not want to see him, and he has no desire to see him. It says that we're not going to see him in the main event of SummerSlam because his answer to this challenge is no. So then after that, after basically Roman Reigns declined Cena's challenge, Balor comes out, and Roman says that he is not here. No, Balor says that he's not here to acknowledge him. And basically, if he is not interested in Cena's challenge, then maybe he's interested in Balor's challenge. The crowd chants Roman's scared at this point, and Roman accepts. And the show ends. So what are my thoughts on this segment? I really enjoyed this segment with Roman Reigns. His promo work is really good, especially that crazy line he sent out. It really got the crowd reeling. But this is my thing with Finn Balor. And, you know, I did state on my previous SmackDown review that Balor should be the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns. The reason why I say that is because, yes, Balor and Reigns faced off multiple times, but I feel like the match that everybody remembers was that first Raw after the 2016 draft when Balor beat him clean. Now, granted, Roman Reigns did beat him in other matches later on, but I feel like I don't even remember those matches. I only remember that match. I only remember the match that he had at that first Raw, July 25th, 2016. I still remember the date because that was an amazing episode of Raw. But, I mean, I feel like it's a little bit too early. Don't expect Finn Balor to face Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That's not going to happen. I assume that's probably going to happen in an early date. But, I mean, what are my thoughts on Finn Balor facing off Roman Reigns probably at this period of time? I do not think it's the right decision, mainly because of the fact that I stated earlier in my previous SmackDown review that you should build up Finn Balor constantly throughout the rest of the year and just book him to win the Royal Rumble and eventually have him beat Roman Reigns. But that was just a scenario I made. But it's definitely not going to happen, considering the fact that we all know that the match with The Rock is going to be happening. And he's going to wrestle The Rock most likely at WrestleMania, and that's going to be your main event for next year's WrestleMania. So they're probably getting it out of the way. What are my thoughts? I don't think it's the right decision to have Balor and Reigns this early. I do think they're going to have a series of matches. WWE is kind of in a... they're kind of in a little bubble right now when it comes to Roman Reigns, because they are having trouble finding out who should beat Roman Reigns, because that match with Rock is definitely happening, and we all know Roman Reigns is going to be defeating The Rock at WrestleMania. We all know he's beating The Rock. The Rock is nowhere near going to be beating Roman Reigns. We all know Roman Reigns is going over in that match. But I mean, let's say The Rock wasn't going to be wrestling Roman Reigns. Who can be a good replacement? Finn Balor. You can literally play off the story that Finn Balor beat him, but Roman Reigns also beat him, so they're kind of even in a way. And you could just play out the story there, and then you could just have the Demon. You can kind of slowly tease the Demon Balor. Now, granted, Balor hasn't done the Demon gimmick in a while, but I mean, you can literally just have him bring back the Demon and just have him dethrone Roman Reigns. That's just my opinion. But, I mean, let's see where this goes. He's not going to face Finn Balor at SummerSlam. The match at SummerSlam is going to be Cena and Reigns. My problem is the fact that, look, I'm happy that they're going to be feuding. I just don't like the fact that it's happening way too early. That's my problem. But, yeah, that was my thoughts. That was basically my thoughts on this segment. Overall thoughts on the entire show. I thought SmackDown was a really good show. It was not the best show in the world because we had rematches. But, of course, the highlight of this show was Roman Reigns and also Pat McAfee. But the rest of the show, I really enjoyed the setting at the Rolling Loud Festival. My only gripe with it was the fact that the crowd was freaking dead. And you heard Thunderdome crowd. That's what you basically heard. And I'm sorry if I keep botching Thunderdome. I don't know why. I keep botching that word. But, yeah, you constantly heard Thunderdome chants. But, I mean... Overall thoughts on this show. This was not a bad show. I just hated the fact that there was rematches. The only highlight was Pat McAfee and Roman Reigns. Or Roman Reigns and Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is a second. Roman Reigns is number one. That's my opinion. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from July 23rd, 2021. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications. Follow me on social media on Instagram and Twitter. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast. Signing out.